Hello and welcome to another episode of The Bookie and the Beano, where we discuss the debits and credits of being an accountant or bookkeeper in the digital world. I'm Kane Munro, owner of Active Outsourcing and Accountancy Online, and with me is Diane Lucas, superstar bookkeeper, consultant, and owner of Direct Management. How you doing, Di?
I'm doing well, thank you, Kane. How's things at your end?
No complaints, and even if I did complain, I don't think anybody would listen anyway.
Would listen.
That's right. So
How they transition with life.
Exactly right. What we're going to talk about this week is the Accounting Business Expo. So what is the Accounting Business Expo, people may ask? Well, it is a big free conference that brings together business owners as well as accountancy and bookkeeping professionals to learn, network, and explore the latest products and services for their business and career development. With over 150 exhibitors and over 160 sessions, it's a bloody big conference being held on the 20th and 21st of March at the ICC Sydney Exhibition Centre in Darling Harbour. Di, you've been to ABE every year since it's been going?
Yeah, this is the third year, so bigger and better each and every year according to the agenda. So pretty excited to be attending.
Well, you're not wrong. It's a ginormous agenda.
It's huge. So I've looked through it all, and it actually took quite a long time to go through it. And I'm only going to be attending on one day, on the Thursday, but there's some really good stuff happening on the Wednesday as well. So I think there has to be some strategy if you're attending this into what sort of things you want to see and what agenda topics you want to actually listen to. Because if you just walk in there, you're going to miss a hell of a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, well, as a bookkeeper, you have gone through the agenda in what I'd call forensic detail. So you're well across the agenda. How does it compare to the last couple of years? I guess topic-wise, are there different topics which are shining through this year compared to previous years, or is it pretty consistent?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a definite skew towards education about advisory services in our industry. So that to me is that's sort of the overarching banner, I guess, of how I read the agenda. So there's a lot of different takes on how that works. So you can pick and choose as to, I guess, where you're at in that sort of stage. If you're fledgling, beginning to understand what advisory services means and things like that. So it all keys back, I guess, to a value priced offering for the services you provide to your clients. So how can you move away from compliance, which is slowly dying, and then offer the advisory services that are a higher revenue earning, but also give you a better relationship with your clients as well. So that covers often both bookkeeping and accounting, financial planning, all those aspects. And I think that's definitely a growing industry.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And it does look like this year as well, there's more of a skew towards things being informative than sort of a deep tech dive or a deep technical dive into particular topics. It does seem to be a bit more informative. And I think the session times probably reflect that as well. They are short and sharp, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they always are. This is the Accounting or AB Expo structure where they're short and sharp. So the Australian version is this year is a half hour, which I think is maybe 5 minutes longer than it has been in the past. I can't quite recall, but I do know that they are very quick. Whereas the AB Expo in London was a 45-minute session. So that gave you a little bit more of a buffer. Half an hour really allows you a 20-minute discussion, 5 minutes for questions and 5 minutes handover. So you have to be really on the ball to be presenting 20 minutes worth.
Yeah, and I think the other part of this is that a lot of the people who attend and speak are also going to be there for the rest of the day. So most people are pretty happy to have a chat about any topic which they might have been presenting on. So even if they're only presenting for half an hour, generally people are always happy to have a chat about the topic afterwards because it's usually something they're passionate about. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, that's right. So the key when you're presenting 20 minutes worth is to really bang out the key notes of what your topic's about and really, I guess, give a bit of a taster as to what a more involved, in-depth discussion could allow to happen. So if what you're hearing really piques your interest, then yes, absolutely, you need to chase down the presenter and have a broader discussion with them. And of course, go and see them on their stand if they actually are a sponsor.
Exactly right. And it is a free conference as well, which is amazing. They get a huge number of people going through the conference over both days, but it is free. So if you are interested, and you probably should be, it's my favorite price, it's free, then go to www.accountingbusiness.com.au. And if you do choose to register, use the code B&B. It is a free conference, so go along, especially if you're in Sydney. It's in Darling Harbour, so it's very central. It's well worth attending. We'll be there as well. So if you do see us on day 2, the Thursday, please come up and say hi. And if we have a microphone near us, we'll probably pop it under your mouth and ask you a question.
Absolutely, we're good at asking questions. So yeah, I'm just looking through the sponsor list. They've got platinum sponsors, gold sponsors, and then exhibitor sponsors. So of the exhibitor sponsors, there would be, what have we got? 3, 6, at least I'd say 100 sponsors of just smaller stands, and then you've got your larger ones that would be occupying obviously more floor space. And there's some big names in there. We've got the, as you'd expect, the software, accounting software vendors. So you've got QuickBooks, MYOB, Xero, are all represented, and then you've got different apps to do with your data processing, receipt bank, reporting, Futurely, and then some other ones as well. So there's some really big names in there. So that these people are obviously seeing the value because they've returned year after year as well.
Now, how many pre-con, post-con, at-con sort of parties will there be as well? Because there seems to be every conference now is tacked on a pre-con party, post-con party, in-conference party sort of thing, boats, 3-course dinners. What are you expecting that will come about?
I don't know. I haven't actually been asked to attend any pre-con, post-con, during-con parties at this point. But as you said before, we're only there for the day, so it's not like I'm hanging around in the evenings at all either. But it is an interesting one. Sometimes these post-con, pre-con parties become the focus of the event as opposed to the event. So maybe that's why there hasn't been that much saying about it, because they're not actually having them. It's maybe they leave them for the big events of their own particular platforms.
Well, if there is anyone out there looking for somebody to attend a party, I'm available for parties. So you do reach out to us at
Wednesday night. You're a free agent.
Wednesday night, I'm a free agent. bookinthebino.com.au. So what we're going to do, Di, you have been through the agenda in forensic detail. I'm going to pick out a few topics and a few sessions which we both like and have a chat about those. So
okay.
Turn the spotlight onto your good self. What particular sessions are you looking forward to?
Well, there was one that definitely piqued my interest because the headline just grabbed me, which is no, not that one. Where is it gone now?
Is it why STP is your best friend, not your foe, which of course we will be on the panel for?
Well, that's good because we will be definitely there on the Thursday, won't we? So we'll be talking all about STP. So absolutely, the STP one, especially if you've never seen John Shepherd talk. So he's the Assistant Commissioner heading up Single Touch Payroll. Okay. He'll be talking on the Thursday as well. So he's always good to listen to, really sharp, absolutely passionate about Single Touch Payroll. And we'll give you some really good insights as to how that will actually operate from the ATO perspective. So if you can join John, then definitely do that. So I've known John now for a little while, and he's definitely a good person to talk to. The one that did pique my interest, though, as I said by the headline, I'm going to read out the headline: Using Excel to Automate Processes in Xero and QuickBooks Online. So the simple fact that it's actually got using Excel in it is it's just really, really interesting. So I'm if I was there on the Wednesday, that would be one that I'd definitely be attending. It's Wednesday late afternoon, right at the very end. I think it's something like 4:30 or something like that in the afternoon. The basic premise is that Excel is not dead, and there's definitely ways to use it within your accounting package ecosystem. So that one just seems to be interesting. What do you think?
It sticks out like a sore thumb, that, because Excel appears like an archaic piece of software, but it is exceptionally powerful if used the right way and with the right plugins into it. So I could see that being something which would be quite interesting, depending, of course, what else is on Streamwise at a particular time. But that's a good one, Di.
Yeah, no, I mean, I use Excel, not a lot, but I'm pretty comfortable with using it. But I wouldn't say that I use it alongside my accounting packages all the time. So yeah, definitely one to be of interest. And look, I've seen it firsthand how an Excel, when it's in the hands of someone who really, 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 really knows what they're doing, it can produce some incredible work. But
somebody who can make Excel sing.
Yes, that's exactly it. I was going to say, then I thought, no, I won't dish that one out. Oh, dear. And then, of course, going back on the advisory sort of stuff we talked about, there's how to create more value when you can't create more time. So, of course, that touches on the advisory services that we're all looking to provide more of. And of course, we're all time poor. So how do we make that sort of work more in our favour, providing the value add services? And there's something we talked about earlier, but the concept of value adding is actually an interesting one as well. A lot of it is skewed towards how can I, as a financial services provider, enhance the offerings that I have in order to provide a value-added service to my clients. So something along the lines of different offerings, having better customer service, all those sort of things become part of the value add. But the other side that I think that is interesting, and I don't really think is being touched on in these here at all, is the other side of the value, which is what can we offer to the client in order to provide value to them. Now, what I mean of that is, as a client, when they're suffering, when they're hurting, when they don't have the value, or they don't have the time that they need to have with their family, or they don't have the time that they need in order to generate more sales, to grow their business, or to focus on their business. So how can we, as the advisor there, offer them a way of releasing themselves so they can do more and providing value that way? It's just a different, a different take on it. So listening more to the client, understanding their needs, as opposed to saying, dear client, we can do this, 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 and this for you.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's a really interesting take on advisory in inverted commas, because you're right. A lot of the focus is around, how to do some sort of magical fairy dust stuff, as opposed to, the everyday things of just being able to advise a client on like the things you just said there.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll be interested if that sort of side of it comes into more play in future conferences. So what else have we got to talk about in regards to different topics? What's on your list there, Kane?
Well, the one I'm really looking forward to the most is on the Thursday. It's being presented by Tim Hoopman, who's a great fella, and Alexi Boyd, around how to create a mentally healthy business. I just think it's a really important thing, and it's a real sort of hot topic at the moment. So it's something which is close to my heart as well. So really interested in checking in at that session and some of the tips of how you can create a mentally healthy business for yourself and also for your employees. I think it's a really important thing going forward, especially as we move towards distributed workforces and maybe fragmented office environments where people may not have that social interaction on a day-to-day basis with fellow staff members. So you need to be able to replicate social environments and replicate social relationships in different ways. So I'm not sure what they're going to touch on in that, but yeah, it's one I'm certainly looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about a similar topic ourselves in Bookie and the Beano, so it's definitely one of interest. The other side of that, with regard to the mental health and things, as you said, it's a really important topic, and clearly there's a high demand for having open discussions about this. So I'm really excited that Tim keeps on pushing that one, because it's really good and needed discussions around that.
So I'll certainly be checking into that one. One of the other ones I was looking at, which I won't be able to see, unfortunately, is on the Wednesday. And friend of the podcast, Alec Kalesia, is presenting on how to turn a $3,000 a year client into a $3,000 a month client. I think it's, again, not knowing what the content's going to be, it sounds like it's going to be super interesting, a way that you can expand a client from somebody who might be what you may consider sort of a C-class client in, if you're going to grade clients, and moving them up to what would be an A-class client. So that sort of journey with a client and building your fee base as an accountant or bookkeeper with a particular client, I think is a really important one, because that's how your firm will grow, but also how the business who are going to pay you that sort of amount of money can grow as well.
Well, again, it has to touch on the advisory side of things as well. So providing a more value-added service, and you're quite right. You can move these clients from a C grade to an A grade, and it's actually real stuff. So that's going to present a good talk, I'm sure, about that.
Yeah. Now, you got any others that you're looking forward to, Di? I've got a very long list I've had to cull from, so I'm sure
I've got
equally the same.
I'm just looking through my list too. Exactly. There's one on day one: why bookkeeping has become a must-have service for accounting firms.
Oh.
Now that one, yeah, well, that's right, exactly. So this is something we've talked about in a previous Bookie and the Beano podcast, where we've talked about the synergy of relationships between the accountant, the bookkeeper, and the client. And interestingly, the headline or the synopsis of this topic starts with "Garbage in equals garbage out." Has never been truer when it comes to bookkeeping. So yeah, a little bit off on the the aggressive foot there, I think.
Clickbait.
And so this is something that's close to home, and I really wish I would be there to attend that one, because I'd be curious to see what how they're going to sum that up in a short 20 minutes. You know, it is a way that accounting firms are heading towards, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there has to be sort of really some significant, I guess, processes in place, and the old adage which we've touched on before as well, which is, you know, an accountant is not a bookkeeper, and so to think that a graduate accountant is doing bookkeeping is probably not the right way to the right approach. So would be really interested to see what they've got to say on that one.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And another one which is probably ticking my box is CA, CPA, and FCPA. Are accreditations worth what they used to be? Do accreditations still matter? Firms are moving from hourly fees where accreditations justify higher rates to all-inclusive subscription pricing. So it is all about whether your accreditation and the amount of money you pay to one of your regulatory bodies every year just to be told that you're doing everything wrong is still worth it. And do clients actually care?
That's right, exactly. Yeah, do they? Now, interestingly, well, I had something happen the other day, and where I was called in and reviewed stuff, and there was just some really unethical stuff happening from the bookkeeper, and we actually got the registration number, and they were a registered tax agent as opposed to BAS agent, and so really interesting. So. But it was only on the say-so of myself to actually check out that registration. So we're not talking about CPA, CA registrations there. We're talking about just BAS agent registrations in that particular case. But the general awareness of these things, and we're paying good dollars towards them, and that. So as you said, does the client ultimately care? And if things do go awry, do they know where to go in order to actually do something about issues?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting one. And just to develop that, I don't think clients really, on the whole, care at all, unless they've had experience as an accountant themselves. It's usually just accountants talking to other accountants and bookkeepers talking to other bookkeepers, and that crossover of people who people who actually care about it. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of value in it anymore. But yeah, really interested on that particular panel.
But at the same time, it is about education. So you're getting those letters after your name, and you've gone through a process of education. You've developed yourself, you've developed your skills. So it's more an internal performance development as opposed to having those numbers there or those letters at the end of your name so that you can show them to a client.
I don't disagree, but me forking over $900 a year to the CPA and not seeing much benefit out of it apart from lining the ex-CEO's redundancy pay, and that's been well played out in the media. Yeah, I question that sometimes, but hey, at the same time, I need it to do my job. So yeah, that panel will be a good one.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
One on Wednesday, Tony Wall is presenting on killer tips on how to kill email with chat, which I think would be a really interesting one, and how that could potentially be used by accounting and bookkeeping firms, just try to reduce the volume of emails we receive every day. Whether that would be replaced by chat, I don't know, but that's an interesting topic. Again, killer tips on how to kill email with chat. Isn't
that touching on the integration of Slack into software?
Yeah, I imagine it would be. Slack would be a big part of that. And then, yeah, live chat integrating with different tools as well. So this is an interesting one, just a different way you can look at newer technology to replace an older technology, which is still useful, but just to reduce the amount of volume. And I guess I get a lot of spam emails, so just not having to look at email all the time and not being aware whether it's going to be something I actually need to look at or whether it's just going to be spam. So I find it an interesting one.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, there's other ways too of having multiple email accounts so you can direct things differently and, ignore those ones that you don't really want. And
they find me anyway, Di. They always find me.
I saw someone the other day with, I think, 8,000 unread emails on a particular email account. And the view of that one, well, it's actually a spam, also it's the unsubscribe account that she never gets time to look and unsubscribe. So if you ever get given that email address, you know that she doesn't want to talk to you.
Wow. She'd do well to go to that session as well. Don't worry about the email anymore. Just go to chat.
Exactly. So yes, time efficiency is how to be more efficient in your practice. All those sort of things are always going to be really good topics to listen to as well. So I mean, the topics are really important too, but we haven't actually talked about what about on the floor. So I mentioned before that there's a hell of a lot of sponsors. So there's a lot of little booths around everywhere. It's a really big floor space of sponsors. So to actually, go through the agenda and tick all the ones that you want to attend because they're interesting. You also, if you're attending the AB Expo, Institute of Accounting Business Expo, is to make sure that you spend some time going around the floor because there's some really cool vendors there that that you probably haven't been exposed to in the past. So it's always nice to catch up with friends, the ones that you've seen in the past before, but then there's always going to be some new ones there as well. So I really challenge anyone who's attending the conference or the expo to actually make some time, spend a couple of hours, absolutely wear good walking shoes. It's not a fashion statement event. So because it's a big floor space to cover. And go and talk to at least 5 different vendors that you have got no idea who they are and see what they can do. And, surprise yourself because you might find someone that actually can provide you and your clients with a service that you weren't expecting. So that's always a really, really good part of attending any sort of expo or conference that I challenge myself to do.
That is exceptionally good advice and something I'm not very good at. I tend to walk down those things and I see people looking at me like I'm a piece of fresh meat to sell something to. So I'll go there with open eyes this time around with you, Di, and we'll go and talk to a few different vendors that you can recommend to me.
Well, it's not even recommending. It's a case of let's just have a quick walk around, and if someone looks interesting, there's nothing worse, I think, when you're walking around. And as you said, if they're eyeing you off as a bit of fresh meat,
yeah.
Which hopefully that doesn't happen too often. But I think it's hard when you're manning a stand because you want to look engaged, you want to look interested. And when people just keep walking past you, it becomes quite disengaging and disheartening for the person manning the stand as well. So that's where a bit of desperation, I guess, comes in the look.
Yeah, it looks like I'm walking past the Mona Lisa. They're always watching me.
But that's actually sometimes the ones that I actually do go and talk to because they're not talking to anyone else, so they've got perfect time there to have a really in-depth discussion with yourself. And as I said, you can surprise yourself with what you actually do find. You can be the next person to find the app that Australia's going to embrace.
Very good advice as always, Di. Very good advice. Do you have any other sessions you're really looking forward to, or any other parts of the conference that you're looking forward to?
Well, we're going to be doing I think facilitating some of the table talk as well throughout the day. So there's some really interesting topics in the table talk that Intuit are sponsoring. So not sure particularly which ones I'll actually be involved in at this point, but I'll put my hand up to actually be facilitator on one of those tables, as I think you have as well. Mm-hmm. So the table talks are an interesting one. It's a 10-person table where you can actually learn from each other. So as a facilitator, you're there to make sure that people all have a fair share in speaking up. But it's a great place where you can engage and get advice from other people who are in a similar situation to you. So not a networking event as such, but as opposed to a let's all get together and support each other and get some information sharing happening. Xero also offering a tech talk table, similar sort of thing, the different topics there as well. So, those sort of things I think are a great area as well. So rather than just sitting there listening to someone's presentation, you can actively engage in a discussion in a talking environment.
Oh, there's certainly a lot on. Again, it's the 20th and 21st of March at the ICC Sydney Exhibition Centre in Darling Harbour. If you are interested, and based on everything we've discussed today, you damn well should be, then go to www.accountingbusiness.com.au and register with the code BNB. As I said, as Di just mentioned, we'll be there. So if you do see us, come up and say hello. And if we have a microphone near us, we will no doubt vox pop you on something about ABE, something you might have seen or a session. So do come along to the Accounting Business Expo up in Sydney on the 20th and 21st of March. That about wraps up today for Booking the Bino. Don't forget to register for the ABE Expo and come and say g'day. Also, please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast. And while you're there, leave a review and share it with your network. We'll be back soon with another episode. So until then, stay accurate.
Bye.